Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's great to be here. I'm Veronica Miller, Medeinos Media CEO, and I am here. This is supposed to be an interview, so I'm going to just set the stage for you because, oh, we do need to have a mic too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to do it with a mic this time, just in case the guys in the back didn't hear me. So I'm Veronica Miller, CEO of Medeinos Media, and this is supposed to be an interview with the one and only Jennifer Bertrand, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to chat with each other because that's more democratic, I think. So Jen, take it away. Introduce us to all of your work.
Yay. So it's a lot to take in the morning, and you're like, who's this lady? I always start with, who am I and why should you care? So my background is I do commercial and residential. I want a reality show, which I know designers hate those people. I fully understand, and I hate them too. Just kidding, I don't hate them. But I am one of those. But I always use TV shows as a way to just find out what your clients like what shows are they watching, and if they do, you can tell them it's nothing like that. So I want a reality show. I do commercial, residential, and somehow I started doing jobs abroad. So I'm doing a condo and beach house in New Zealand. I'm doing a house in Roatan near Belize. I've done 2 houses in Costa Rica. And then I'm doing hospital projects with Northwestern and Chicago and so on. So I represent, real life authenticity is my brand, but we'll get to that. But I'm an active working designer, as well as you'll see me occasionally on TV stuff.
You were supposed to ask me what I do for a living.
Oh yeah, what do you do, Veronica?
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you asked, Jen. So let me just tell you, we are in the digital media space for interior design. We work a lot with brands, and we work a lot with interior designers, kitchen and bath designers, and we work very closely with NKBA National. I'm their lead on the Global Connect program, which is their international development platform. So many hats, but where we kind of started 12 years ago when I launched the Medeinos Media platform was on the influencer side, which is, I think, why I'm here today. I think that must be the reason why. And that, of course, that marketplace has developed and unraveled and redeveloped so many times in the last also decade or longer that it's kind of hard to keep tabs on what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do and how does it all work. I'm 56 years old, and I just kind of look at my VP of operations who's standing back there just kind of socializing away. You'll get to meet her in a minute anyway. And say, I don't even know anymore. But we have built a great community. Our influencer community is called Design Hounds. We take those guys with us every year to KBIS. There's always a group coming to 23 to Las Vegas. We'll have 20 Design Hounds joining us there to cover the show, cover our sponsors. It's kind of an all expense paid deal. And it's really worked very well for us. That's something we launched back in 2011 with a tour to London. It was terrifying. But we did it, and we kind of really developed something interesting. And it was always, for me, about leveraging social media, but also reconnecting it to the real life space, into the showrooms, to the factories, to the manufacturers. So that's kind of always, it has to matter. My takeaway if you take nothing away from me today, it really is, don't do it if it doesn't matter, unless you're just having a really great time doing it. And that's sort of my long and short of it. I can go now, but because that's kind of it. So we're going to walk you through 5 steps, actually 6 steps, of what we'd like you to think about when it comes to social media.
And I think part of social media is just being vulnerable. And that's the hardest part, because we judge things by their aesthetic and appearance on everything. So it's taking that risk. It's like adults on TikTok. They'll have a username, but they'll watch everything, but they won't post anything. They just have a toe in the water. So we're hopefully going to inspire you to change something, tweak something, and have a takeaway that you'll really use. But okay, next slide, Richard. Perfect. I'll let you go.
Okay, because before we talk about social media, just like before we talk about anything with regards to marketing, business development, you got to know who you are. who your brand is, what you stand for. And that's where we're going to start. Before we get into anything tactical around social media, let's explore that. And Jen has a really fun way of doing that.
And I can't take credit for this. Like, it's kind of a brand game. And don't worry, it's not like a baby shower. We're not going to make you do anything. You might answer a question, but this is something I learned from a marketing firm out of Boston. And it's something that I use in my real life. So it's a brand identity game. Next slide, Richard. And you have to sit there and analyze what you are. Okay, next. Yes. Okay, perfect. Don't worry. Don't be scared. Next slide, Richard. We're putting you to work.
We don't have a clicker.
Okay. So when you, like, obviously if you hire it out, the thing is this, it's like dating. It has to be very personal. You have to hire someone that you think is going to see your brand. So my first person I brought in was an intern, and she was young and fun and cool. And I was like, yes, make me all those things, please, on social media. And I had a brand kit I gave her. So that way she knew how I wanted the world to see me. I mean, obviously I'm not scared of color or pattern, or I'm not shy. However, a lot of my clients, they get worried I'm going to do this to them. And I'm like, look, that's not how it's like a hairdresser. I'm going to do your style. But first I have to have something that someone can tangibly know what I'm about. Do you want to add anything?
I don't want to add anything. I think you're, hello, there we go. I think you're completely right. You know, understanding, I watch social media a lot, and I am sort of very often a silent observer because I want to understand what the design communities are looking for, what they're struggling with. That's a big part of what we bring back to the brand collaboration and say, this is where these guys are at, and you guys are over here developing product and working on other marketing campaigns. And the two don't always align all that well. So we try to bring that to the table and say, this is kind of where these guys are currently at, what they're worried about. But the first, one of the biggest questions I see online over and over again is, what do you guys think of my new brand? And then they share a bunch of logos. I'm like, no. That's the end result of your brand exercise. That is not your brand. So the brand is the answer to those questions behind me. And we'll jump right into some of these questions. And Jen is going to be vulnerable and walk us through her own.
I know. My dad was in the Air Force. If you're like, why is she so friendly this early in the morning? I'm used to making friends randomly as we grew up all over the world. But so I'm going to show you this. Don't be shy if you want to take a picture of any slides to remind yourself to do this for your own brand. And I'm going to show you what it is for me. You'll probably go, that's the dumbest answer I've ever heard, but it's not your brand. So next slide, Richard. Look at it. It's the big lead up. Okay, so this is kind of my mission in life. I really want everyone I meet to be like seen. I really care. I don't care what you have to offer me in life. I don't want anything from you. So my job is to just see you as a human, and then high five if you become something great in whatever you do, or if our brands play together someday. So this is how I kind of started, so someone knows that like even my website says, and this is probably not appropriate, but it says I'm a non-D-bag human. I just try to be a kind person. Next slide. And sometimes in our industry that's hard, and I love snobbery, but I also like good humans. Okay, so now you have to think of like words that someone would associate with your brand. Are you elegant? Are you classic, refined, whatever words they are? I did this game probably 10 years ago. So some of the slides are old and some are new, but they were still relevant 10 years later. I was like, oh yeah, I still believe that. Next slide, Richard. Okay, so I don't like the fonts on any of these, so don't judge, but these were all words. This was an old slide, and I was like, I still believe in every single word. You meet me, I joke that I'm the love child of Paula Deen and Jack Black. I'm just gonna make you laugh, we're gonna have fun, but I love high-end stuff. Someone who looks at me and they go, oh, she did HGTV, but they don't think I like elevated design because they're too quick to judge what I am till they get to know me. The good people see past all that and understand what more there is to it. Next slide, Richard. And real quick, what would be real quick, what's your name? Beth. What's an adjective you'd use to describe your brand? No pressure, Beth. Creative. See, that's a good one. The thing is this is when you stop and what?
Everybody will say creative.
I would hope so. If you're not, you're a horrible designer, let's face it. But the thing is, it makes you stop and think, and then you go, how do I whittle it down to these core concepts? And jump in anytime.
And you know what? I actually will argue the creative. I think, kind of throwing some of these words out as an exercise when you go home, or sometimes when you journal in the morning, which you should be doing anyway, is kind of throwing these words out in front of you into a notebook and sitting with them for a minute. Because I think sometimes what kind of comes at you from the top of your mind may not necessarily be what you really end up with. So kind of allowing those to kind of percolate for a little bit. Creative, of course, is an obvious one in the design industry, but there's sensitivity, right? There's all these words. You guys you're psychologists. You have to be in tune. So there's so many other words that actually define you as your brand. Creativity is probably a part of that, but when you really kind of pour that out and put note cards together and kind of just move those around and find what your brand actually really speaks to when you look at it. So use those words and make that physical and write them on a piece of paper. I think you'd be surprised at what you'll find in that exercise.
Well, and I warn my clients ahead of time. I'm like, look, you got to buy into this whole concept because we're going to go on for a year or two, and you got to like me, I got to like you, and let's commit to this. And so we design date in the beginning, and then we see if it makes it. And I'm sure all of you do that as well. That's a picture from a Ronald McDonald house I did. So like, I love to put craftsmen together. So that's a graffiti artist's wife who does felt art, and then a neon artist creating it. And that was the hello to the Ronald McDonald house, because I have a son who's had 20 surgeries, and I knew how it felt to be that mom checking in. So I wanted it to be like a hug hello as they came in. Okay, so if your brand were a celebrity, and this one I know is cheesy, but I fully believe it. Next slide, Richard. I went with Mary Poppins because I grew up on Disney. I always say I'm Disney with an edge, but I really kind of buy into that. I'm married to a Larry David, so it's a weird dichotomy, but for me, this is how I truly see myself in people's homes. I really do go, and we have that kind of whimsical fun.
Who are you guys as a celebrity? Anybody here? Do we have a raise of hands? Do we have any celebrity?
Who's the brave soul to
Come
say
on,
who they
we're going to need a brave soul in the room.
It only takes, oh, good,
okay,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
I did a little bit of this exercise recently, and surprisingly, I came up with Penelope Cruz.
Oh.
I like it.
That's a good one.
I know, I can get it.
Her friendly combination of friendly, sophisticated, and exotic.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's way sexier than Mary Poppins.
Way sexier. You totally win. You know where I landed? This is going to be
Where?
really weird. Steve Jobs without the attitude.
Oh. And no
Can you
turtleneck.
see that? Right? Yeah. So how we're even in the same space together without sucking the air out of each other? I don't know. I'm serious. I'm goal-driven. I'm a conceptualist, and I think business all the time. And you're sort of playful.
I am the opposite. I'm like a little
Completely.
fairy gnome.
And I don't play at all, but that's pretty funny. But I like having playful people around me. That is another point that's very important, is how do you pair up? And where do you create the dynamic in your work? This doesn't have to just be your avenue, but it should, and in your message as a brand, but also with what do you want to pair up with, which is going to get to our next question here later.
If you have a slide deck that has these answers and cleaned up about you, whoever you work with, you just go, here's my logos, here's how I see myself. It takes less time to explain who you are, and it also helps them just quickly identify, and you'll have more success in your social media as you do it. Next slide, Richard.
Nicely done, Penelope.
So that's a Ronald McDonald house where I'm doing a few of those. I kind of got the in with Ronald McDonald house, but I laughed because by doing Ronald McDonald houses, I've worked with the NFL, Major League Baseball, MLS, all of that, just doing Ronald McDonald houses, which is awesome. But okay, if your brand were a car, Richard, next slide. So this is, I couldn't pick which one. I want to be Jay Leno and have a garage full of cars. But so I love vintage cars. I have a vintage car. I just think they're statement pieces. But, you know, think about what you would be as a car.
What would you guys be as a car? Who do we have?
Jeep.
Oh, see?
Excellent.
Good.
We've got Jeep over here. Yes?
Audi.
And an
Oh,
Audi?
yay.
What kind of Audi? You gotta be specific.
A Q5.
Nice, nice, well done.
Jaguar.
Perfect. You've got the old Vandenplas.
I've got the Grey Poupon one that I drive to clients, and it's got the gas on top and the little trays. Yeah.
I love it. Yes?
So I'm in love with a 1939 Cadillac.
Oh.
It has a gorgeous design.
Does she know that?
I just unbelievable.
Thank you, Jeff.
See it on my website.
See?
I love it.
But doesn't it tell a lot about someone? Did you want to add one real quick?
Oh, yeah, I'm an orange two-door MG.
See?
Oh, yes,
And
yes, yes.
I can tell by the glasses and scarf. I'm like, yes, she's orange.
But
Yeah.
people are answering about their own person, and your
Yeah.
person and your brand are not the same.
It depends. It depends because my person and my brand are melded together. So people know when you see, if you look me up on Instagram, you're like, you'll see some designers, and we talked about this. Some are polished, tailored. It's a magazine editor. Mine is like, bleh, like, but it's fun and it's happy and it's weird. And you know, once you buy into me being your friend, you're just going to go on adventures with me. So part of it is for some people it's separate and it's encouraged by a lot of people. What are your thoughts on melding personal and professional?
Well, as a designer, oftentimes it will meld because if you're a one-person show, it goes without saying that very often that becomes a reflection of yourself. I would say that even as a company like ours, the Veronica vibe is still going to be in there somewhere. So it'll have an outer brand persona that's quite visible in our case. I'm personally not. I'm really, really introverted. And that's the reality. And people that know me, Tony's laughing already, but it's true. I'm a curmudgeon, and I like to sit in my garden, hang out with my dog, and that's kind of a day for me. Not a partier, but there is an outward persona to our brand, but it's still informed by those likes, because at the end of the day, you have to get up in the morning and like what you're doing, and this information will spill into your company for sure.
And you'll see, like, I'd say this is find those creatives that you like what they're doing, use that as a model and a guideline. If you're like, okay, I'm just gonna follow this and do it that way, you're not plagiarizing their work, but you're just kind of watching a format that's successful to you and pulling it off. So we were talking, Laura Muller's a designer out of California. She's amazing. It's 4-point design, is that right? Everything she touches is like breathing freshness into it, and it's very crisp and white and clean. Her and I always laugh because we're the opposites of each other, but you know her brand. It is sold in a moment, so visually, beautifully.
Yeah, and you can sign up for it, or you can also not and say, yeah, that's too crisp for me, it's not my thing. But you know when you meet her, she doesn't trip up by muddying up her public persona. So what you see as a person, she has a lot of different sides, likes antiquing, likes all the things. But when you look at her Instagram, it's completely true to her brand for sure.
And I told Veronica when we did this, I was like, I'm here to represent the opposite, that if you do want to muddy it or be authentic to who you are, cool. It's just taking the time to do it, and you have to fully buy into it. Next slide, Richard. Okay, so ideal spokesperson for your brand, that's one of my paintings. I paint mixed media, abstract, my mom's a sculptor, all that good stuff. Next slide, Richard. So this is who would be my brand spokesman. I couldn't pick just one, but you're probably not surprised. You're like, yeah, I can see that. I can see how in these 5 minutes of meeting you that probably you'd identify with this. So my brand would be creatively fun, but entertaining as well. So I don't think do you want to?
No, we're going to keep running because
I want to get to facts. Next slide, Richard. Okay, if you're an animal, next slide.
I would be a Great Dane. I have one, and that's the only thing I can think about. So.
I have a Great Dane too.
In a mini.
So next slide. So I kind of mixed two. So you play this game, get your ideas, right? Those dogs should be around more. I have the Barbie one. Next slide, Richard.
I look exactly like that when I have long hair. That's why I have to keep it short. I swear to God.
Next slide. What brands would your brand hang out? So I tweaked this one lately because I was like, these are the brands I've loved. I've always loved DVF, like everything about her. Belle's an Australian magazine, so I tend to read a lot of foreign Italian Elle decor, the English Elle decoration. That's kind of where I find my inspiration. And I'm sure you know Color Factory, but Art Class is a production company out of, I live in Kansas City, which is cooler than it sounds. We brought you Paul Rudd in case you're like, that sounds horrible. But Art Class, it shoots films, and they're doing like Ryan Reynolds' Wrexham show right now on Hulu, which is amazing, but it's shot beautifully and the cinematography is great. And Wes Anderson's colors, like, I love the set design, but so just pick who you'd want to be with as your brand, and it'll help you really have a strong persona online. Next
That's
slide.
probably one of the most important points in this presentation right here, is how do you want to be seen and how do you want to associate in the industry. You have to be confident about that, strong about it, and maintain that. That's really a core piece in your social media journey for sure.
I find I don't get clients through Instagram. Instagram, I meet other industry people. I have one client who randomly found me from Nashville, and we're doing a big modern farmhouse for her, but not with shiplap, don't worry. And so, but for the most part, randomly, I even still get people through Facebook. I find that some older clientele with money, they're killing it on Facebook, and I'm happy to meet you that way. Some social media people are like, Facebook, but I'm not like that. I will meet you wherever, but Facebook, I get a good crowd from.
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Now, the second question, the answer to this question, if you can't answer that, you have no business being on social media unless it's to share puppies and kittens. That's bottom line. If you're trying to use social media for your business and for your work, and you don't have an answer for this, then don't do it. It's okay. There's actually no social media police that will come to your house and say, you do not have an Instagram account, you will die. It's not gonna happen. You're okay, you're safe. But who are you guys? If you're thinking about social media, who is your audience? Who are you trying to attract? And we'll definitely take some answers from you.
No pressure.
New clients? Is it, and that's the next slide there too. There we go. Is it new? Do you want new clients? Do you need new clients? Everybody's been very busy, so this is kind of an honest answer for you. Are you trying to connect to brands? Are you trying to become an authority in the industry? What is the goal in who you're trying to speak to? Because without having that knowledge, you will not be able to get the message right. Anybody here who would like to, why are you on social media, or were you trying to be on social media? Yes, ma'am.
I'm on social media to connect with potential clients that are interested in wellness design, my version of wellness design, which incorporates living in place design and feng shui.
And what's your favorite place to be in social media?
I like Facebook still. It just gives you an opportunity to tell a story a little bit more than you can on Instagram.
But you could kill it on TikTok. Like, don't be scared of TikTok. I love TikTok, but like teaching wellness on TikTok is a perfect place to like start that story. Plus, like TikTok's the Wild West, and just try things. I try things on TikTok that I won't put on Instagram. I'm like, I'm going for it. And I'm just building a small little community as I go.
It's terrifying. It is completely terrifying. I have like 200 followers. I've never said a word on TikTok. I'm just like, I don't know, you gotta give me a minute. I just don't want to turn on the button because, oh my God, what if you do it wrong? But we'll go into that with Florence here in a little bit. But yes, other audiences. Who here uses social media to get in front of brands? Who here is looking for brand relationships, ways to work with brands to be an influencer? Alberto? Yep.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Alberto.
There he is.
Yay.
There he is.
Well, I have people, so I work with brands randomly, and they do judge my Instagram. Luckily, I start talking to them, and they understand the why of my look on it, but they will look at it because they need it to identify with their brand. They need to make sure. So like I was telling Veronica, I'm working with a trim molding company to possibly do a collaboration. And so it's funny because they're refined, tailored. I'm the opposite, but I'm going to bring the fun for them and kind of liven it up a little. But I think the thing is, don't say no to it. Be open to it, because it would be a great adventure. And I think don't do your social media for the goal of meeting brands, but be open to that you could. That was a really long run-on sentence, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and be specific. on this topic. Wellness, feng shui, those are the elements you want to talk about. That's what your design is about. That's what your social media, your public-facing social media should be all about. But really kind of dig in there and figure out who that ideal client is. Where do they fit in your budget range? That is going to dictate the content that you're going to be sharing. It's also really going to dictate the platform that you're going to be on. So really understanding, again, throw these cards out and think about what's my ideal budget for a project? What's that client look like, right? Is it a Fortune 100 dude, or is it sort of, kind of, I just want to crank out a bunch of kitchens every year. What is your client? That is a really, really big question for you, and that will inform, again, that social media strategy.
And don't be scared to hire it out. I mean, if you're like, I am horrible at editing, I don't have time to do it, you want it to be fun, so just pay someone. And I had an intern who now does the marketing for Monica and Andy. It's a baby clothing line in Target. And she was an intern when I got her. So get an intern if you don't want to invest a lot, and let them try new things.
Yep, let's go to the next slide. And you just brought it up. You said, the summary of this right there is, again, ask why. This is, I kind of try to emulate Simon Sinek here, who's a little bit more famous, but what is your why? That informs everything you do in your business, not just your social media. These things are all linked together. Social media is just a tool. It's just an outlet. It's not your reason for being. Your reason for being is your business in this context. But why are you doing it? What is your why? What drives you? What's your mission? What's your vision? Get those onto paper. Think about them as a little micro business plan, and let that thing live and breathe, because it will change with you. It will change with time. It might have changed during COVID. No surprise there. So you don't have to hang on to something that you think you're supposed to be doing because that's what you've done 10 years ago. It's a great opportunity to rethink and refresh your goals, but your why is, again, it's that tool that makes you want to get up in the morning. If you're hitting it on the mark, this is why I'm in this industry. Again, I come back to, I want people to live more healthily and feel better and have a great experience when they wake up in the morning, and to really reflect on who they are as human beings. That's a great mission, and if that's what you have, or I want to really create functional spaces, whatever that is, that should drive you and that should dictate your everyday.
Well, and on that point, social media can be unhealthy for you. So as a creative soul, sometimes I have to go, I don't care what you're doing in the world. I just need to focus on what I'm doing. So don't be scared to take a break from it. Or if someone you don't feel good, every time you see their stuff, you get an anxiety attack because you're like, man, unfollow them. Don't put that in your world in that sense. So my thing is, just kind of have fun with it, and if you're not having fun with it, take a break from it.
Oh, good. I'm going to go home now. Yeah. I didn't know I could do that. There's an off button. Yeah, love it. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we did this already. Let's move on. I kind of just riffed off of that. So now we can talk about your content strategy. Just looking at who your audience is, who you are, what your mission is, that will inform your content and nothing else. So just kind of coming in there and saying, okay, well, today I'm going to take some pictures of this project I shot, and now I'm walking down the street in New York City, and then I'm going to, and here's a picture of my grandchild. Not on your public. If you're using it for business, then think through that content strategy. Don't overthink it. Kind of just stick to that space. Know why you're there, which explains why you're doing it. So if you can go to the
next. To that real quick.
Yep.
You guys are always on job sites, and sometimes we don't stop long enough because we're dealing with issues to take videos or shoot anything. But go ahead and just get your camera out. In TV, we call it B-roll. You shoot B-roll of everything and just save it. You can have a folder that you drop it in a Dropbox that Then if someone's helping you with it, then you can feed off of that. But I'd say just do vertical. It used to be like Facebook, I do a lot of horizontal, but most everything's kind of vertical now. So I would just shoot stuff. Don't care how you're going to use it. Do lots of kind of little mini shots, 15 seconds, and then just save them. Have a folder on your iPhone or what, if you're Android, that you put it aside. And then you'll have content later, but you don't really even have to think about it. And just constantly don't leave a job site without documenting something.
Yep.
When I do my personal Facebook, if I put up my grandchildren or like a theater or something like that, I get a lot more hits than when I do another type of post. In your posts, do you get more hits or the most hits for some content that you could tell us about?
Puppies and babies, people always love them. So like, here's what I'd say. Don't get disheartened if you don't get a lot of views on something that you're like, man, I was so knowledgeable on that. Don't even care about the insights. Yes, look at the insights. Yes, see how it works for you, but still keep doing the content. So like, for example, my son who's had a lot of surgeries, everyone has cheered him on in life. So like, Winston comes on, he gets a lot of views, good old Winston. And then I'll talk design and they're like, who, other people. So my thing would be, don't worry about it and keep sharing your knowledge because it's grassroots. Build your grassroots. It's not about quantity unless you're trying to use it to move your brand to align with big companies and whatnot. And that goes to the micro influencer.
And again, yes, and it absolutely, again, comes back to the why. What are you doing? You don't have to, and Florence is going to talk about going viral versus not in a minute. You don't necessarily have to do that, but again, it has to do with why are you there? What are you looking to accomplish with that? I agree. A family post, a vulnerable post on social media will usually get a lot of eyeballs. I just did one on my personal Instagram about my relationship with art. And I've never had so much engagement on a post because I kind of spoke from my heart rather than, promoting or putting it out there. But you can do that with your business platform just as easily. Speak from your heart. Talk about projects. Don't worry about if you're getting down into the nitty-gritty on a project. This is a challenge I had. Tell the story. Don't just kind of look at the flashy final product. That's the one that's going to get scrolled by because you're competing with an entire universe of flashy, often stolen content. Right? So you're never going to get out from under that. Never, never, ever. Right? Everybody's ripping off AD and, or whoever's photography and posting and saying, oh, I love this. But the implication is, well, maybe I did that. And that's not good. Talk about your business. The circle that you're building, if it's 200 people, 500 people, and they're good people, beats the hell out of 10,000 people if they're not your people. So always keep that in mind. Yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to say that as professional as you are, that your humanity shows through.
Yep.
Steve Jobs has feelings.
I have feelings. It's a new version. I've come back, and it's just, trying to be more open. So we do have another slide on this one too. Yeah. So again, be true to your brand. Be original, please, please. We know we all love great design that other people did. Be super, super careful. No one's gonna hire you by posting a whole deck full of someone else's work. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's super curated. But the grids are no longer where it's at on Instagram. Florence will obviously go into that in a minute too. But it's not you. So imagine the disappointment. What's the expectation you're setting? If you're a new designer, not a problem. Talk about drawings, talk about concepts, talk about vision, talk about ideas. Open up your company and share that story. But still don't pull over. It doesn't matter whether you're giving credit or not, by the way. No one reads anything. So if you have to do it for whatever reason, again, something Florence will get into a little bit, ask for permission. It's a nice way to build community. And otherwise, if you don't just take something in credit, it's just not the answer. Be true to yourself, create your own content, and I think you'll do so much better in the long term.
And if you build a relationship with someone who can shoot, like Tim right here and Dan, I have a guy, Sebastian, that he can come shoot my stuff. He can do it, like, we'll talk about Instagram, but living images live better on Instagram. So I can shoot testimonials with my clients, but I can also ask questions about the process. We can share things, like I'm going to do one with a client right now, and I'm going to ask some questions. So I'll play producer. We'll ask about like what was, bad things that happened on the project, good things, like sharing the authentic journey, because that'll be more like interesting as you do it. But part of it is the fear of being truly authentic and raw and vulnerable. But that's the one that people like. Everyone's so over polished, even though we all still love polished people. But I think being true to who you are, it'll go further for your social media.
And, it kind of leads into what you just kind of teed me up for, the shameless plug. Thank you very much. Design Hounds. Design Hounds is an influencer network. We're on Facebook. You can come knocking on our group. We have several of you guys in here that are part of that group already. And we do a lot of really cool stuff. So it's tours for influencers, and it's also individual brand collaborations that we facilitate between the brand and the influencer. So sometimes it's a showroom opening somewhere, so we turn that into a monetization piece in a way for you to work together with the brand. We just manage the process because we're really good at doing that and creating the value add and the reporting that the brands are looking for. So we're good partners to work with on that. But people ask us all the time, well, I only have a few hundred followers. I barely scraped 1,000 on Instagram. You guys will never look at me. Totally 100% not true. Number one, we look for content. We look for original content. We look for people that might be great on camera, that have something to contribute. Because if we're traveling with a group of 20 people, we like that to be a kaleidoscope of content. We want to be able to kind of really see different viewpoints. I like standing back and watching the group of 20, and they're all taking pictures of something else in the same room. And it's like they weren't even together at that time. So we love that. We then take that and amplify it through our channels and our syndication partners. So it's just not about the numbers anymore. Don't even look at the following. It's just a really bad place to start. And don't buy anybody. Don't buy likes. You are not going to get the attention of a brand, or at least you shouldn't when you do that, because it's very easy to look at who those followers are, and then you're kind of this fraud. So you don't want to do it. Just be authentic, deal with what you got, deal with what you've built, and then find the platform on which you are most comfortable on.
Okay. Next slide, Richard.
Yes. And now, without further ado, our VP of Operations, and it also happens to be my daughter, Florence Von Pillay, who runs all of Design Hounds, all of Medena's Media's operations on the social side, and a whole lot more. Are you blushing? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Thank you for quite the introduction. Good morning. Everything, I was just kind of over there thinking about what I was going to talk about, and you've hit it on the point with social media. So obviously going into your brand and understanding what your purpose is on social. And I will follow that up with the first social platform you decide to be on. Think about it. Don't try to attack all platforms. It's never going to happen. You're going to burn yourself out. My number one thing going into it is, hey, do I want to focus on Instagram? And in design, Instagram is a great platform to start just because it's so visual. Now, if you've been on Facebook a long time, maybe pour some of your energy into that platform and cross-post. The beautiful world of automation now, where you can just kind of link all of your accounts and not have to worry about it. So going into the actual kind of tactile way to approach it, focus on one platform first, and then you'll be able to kind of link all of your accounts and move from there. But that would be my first dive into
Do we have
the
a slide
technical.
on this
We
one?
do.
Yeah, go ahead. There we go.
Ta-da! First point, there you go. So you're gonna focus on that single platform. Now, many of you may know this, it takes a lot of time and energy to create this content. to be creative, to understand Reels, to understand TikTok, to understand stories. There's so much, and it's extremely overwhelming. So to Jennifer's point, I almost called you Jen. No. Jennifer. If you are overwhelmed, hire somebody. There are so many people. You can go on Upwork, it's all virtual. Hire somebody that may have the knowledge and the wherewithal to create your content for you. If you want to take a stab at it yourself, I am the biggest cheerleader for Canva. That's what we use a lot. It's super user-friendly in creating that content. And then definitely invest in some sort of content calendar app that you can create your content and batch it and schedule it.
What apps do you like?
Well, so Facebook intuitively has Creator Studio, which you can use on Instagram and Facebook. It's not my favorite, but right now we use a platform called Agora Pulse, and it's just a great way. It taps into all of your social platforms, and you can schedule all of your content perfectly and well in advance. So you don't have to worry about hopping on every single day, uploading, whatever it is, it's already ready to go. And the beautiful part about social now, this didn't exist a few years ago. It was like you had to upload separately to Instagram and then Facebook and then Twitter and kind of all over the place. It's so nice now that you can do it in one central space. And now you can even schedule to upload to stories. Like, it is super versatile what you're able to accomplish with social with all of these tools. And happy to share those tools after. There's so many.
Are there any apps you guys use that you like? And you had a question, didn't you?
Well, what about Later? What do you think about Later?
I think Later is also a great tool. You know what I did, I went down the wormhole this summer of what platform did we want to use, and there's so many. And so yeah, you try the trials on all of them and see what suits you best. You'll see kind of different user interfaces that you might like differently than others. Again, you might be fine with native Creator Studio, with Facebook and Instagram. It's really what is going to work best for you and from a user-friendly experience.
And if you're sitting there going, I don't remember any of those, you can ask her afterwards as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and we're quite readily available online too. One thing I will add, no matter where you guys post, this is so difficult for people to get in their head. These are all platforms that you do not own. You have no right over them. You don't have rights for the images anymore. You're giving them to Instagram, you're giving them to Facebook. You're probably gonna have to pay if you really wanna play with the big kids. It is a pay to play. These guys are not Salvation Army people. They're here to make money, and a lot of it, right? So we have to appreciate that. Advertising is never free, so why would this be free? You're just using your content to kind of almost meet halfway. Bring it back to your own web platform. Do not forget about your own website. That is not some static thing that should be built and forgotten about. It needs a blog, it needs some kind of dynamic content page, so you still come up in searches because Google is alive and kicking. It's looking for fresh content, it looks for video content on websites, and it's looking for, again, authenticity, especially now because they just changed their algorithm again. And so bring your content back onto your website, create, a storyline there. A blog is just the easiest way to do that. But have that content there. If anybody ever shuts down your Instagram, who's had their Instagram locked or lost altogether? I know a lot of designers that have and lost thousands and thousands of followers. But have it somewhere. Have this stuff live somewhere to where you know that you have ownership of it, and the only thing you own online is your website.
And the only thing I'll add to that is let that content feed all of your channels and outlets. It's such an easy way. You don't have to rethink your content strategy for every single platform. Sure, you have different mediums. You have videos and posts, but let your website, let your projects drive the content for your social. And then you can have some fun with it, with your personality, and upload some great videos and kind of story tell your projects. But let everything kind of speak for itself. You already are doing the work as a designer, it's already there. So let that kind of drive everything, and then add the fun elements later. Don't overthink it.
Alberto.
Alberto.
I use also other people's content on my social media, and the only note that I want to do is be careful if you're bringing it to your website, can only be your
This is
own
true.
content because of legal ramifications.
Sure,
I
sure.
have friends that without realizing some content has passed into their website, and then like lawyers get involved.
Yeah, and, yeah,
And
go
a
ahead.
quick point on that end, if you post anything, whether it's your project or somebody else's, I mean, credit. Photographer, they will come after you.
But I think it's
So.
different in Instagram than the website. I don't know exactly what the legality is, but like that's
Driving it back.
If the information crosses to your website, I think the rules and regulations are different.
Yeah, and this segues a little bit into a whole nother conversation on IP and all the rest of that fun stuff. But one of the things that we had is we were sued by we had the rights to use an interiors piece because we wrote a blog about the designer and had their clearance to do that and to use those images. There was a photograph by an artist in the space of one of the pictures that we used, and we were sued by that artist for a lot. And I said, "You're kidding me." Well, we got this content. We got the clearance to use this content. We did for that designer, but the piece of art he hung on that wall was not cleared.
But don't be scared to post.
Not scary at all. Which is why using your own content and you know who your people are and crediting everybody in that image is just the way to go.
What did you have to do to get out of the lawsuit?
Threaten them with everything. No, we settled. We did settle. Yeah, we paid some for
She
that.
went Steve Jobs on them.
I did. I went the original version of Steve Jobs on them. Yeah, it helped. But it didn't help completely. So no, we ended up having to pay, and it was absolutely a lesson learned.
Good point, Alberto.
Now, when Veronica asked me to just speak to some technical things regarding social, we could literally sit here for a week and go through each platform and what to try and what to do. It's kind of overwhelming for sure. So I just wanted to break down some of the things that I see performing really well within our own Design Hounds community and what some designers are doing really well that will kind of put you in that sneaky little algorithm that Instagram, TikTok, everybody has, right? So we'll start with TikTok first. To Jennifer's point, don't be afraid. It's a great platform. It is about a little bit being more personal and more fun for sure, but don't be afraid to get on camera. It's one of those apps that gives you the freedom to do it. And by the way, you can be so anonymous and nobody will know you're on there for a long time. So it's a great way to kind of break into it. And one way you can do that, so TikTok is all about music and sounds, and you'll see these options when you upload a video, right? So say you do a project, you click on sounds, you'll see all these trending sounds, and just click on one that you love and post. It's pretty easy, but it'll throw you in the algorithm to where you will get more views right away, as opposed to trying to do it yourself. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Hop on what's already working on the platform.
And I will say, people are very honest and sometimes a little mean on TikTok, but you just have to ignore it. And one influencer told me that those mean comments help her get more views and likes and responses and all of that. And she on purpose misspells something for people to correct her and stuff like that. So, but just be aware, it's a little Wild West.
I will say, if you guys have a chance to head over to TikTok, check out Studio Dearborn. I don't know if that's who you're talking
exactly
about.
What I was going to say.
Yeah. That's Sarah Robertson, amazing kitchen designer. She really hones in on details of functionality in the kitchen. I don't know how many 100,000 followers she has, a couple hundred at least. And what she does, and when you kind of scroll through her TikTok content, you will see a lot of it is her own kitchen. A lot of it is repetitive. She does invest a lot of time in filming this, and she really puts this content out there frequently and then puts it over on Instagram. Studio Dearborn.
But it's her son who films it. I got to interview her at KBiz, and her son shoots it for her, and then sometimes it'll be her showing it. But she's just showing the inside of drawers and smart function stuff that you guys have on all your projects as well. She's just putting it out there, clean, crisp tips, and it's doing really well.
And she is like the most modest person on the planet. She goes, I don't know why it does so well. She's like, I'm just shooting B-roll. And she's a great example of, she shows her brand and her design, and she's not even on camera. So she'll film or she'll voice record over it to explain what the function is, who the cabinet maker is, but she's not even on the video. And people love it. She's killing it on there. So definitely take that, to your point earlier, all that B-roll when you're in those projects. Of course, one thing I will mention really briefly on that end is what Sarah also recommends is in your contract with your client, outline footage you're allowed to take and use for your social. That's really important. So, and just really briefly, hashtag strategy. TikTok is all about the hashtags. Hashtag your niche, right? Interior design, if it's wellness, whatever it may be. And another little hashtag, do FYP. It means for your page, but TikTok loves to pick that hashtag up and put you in the top of that algorithm again. So, gotta love it. Instagram Reels. People love it or hate it. There is no in between. Similar to TikTok, I have my own feelings on Reels and whether I love them or not. But it's very similar to TikTok. You have the same kind of, you want to apply the music or the trends, and it's a way to be visual with your content. You can voice record over it. What a lot of people will do, Sarah Robertson being one of them, is taking her TikTok video and cross posting over there automatically. Instagram doesn't love that because there is a TikTok watermark on the video, but to save yourself some time and energy, and like I said before, focus on that one platform first. Don't worry about growing simultaneously everywhere. It'll happen organically. I will say this as well, the Reels, they want you to do video on Instagram for sure. You will not be prioritized with your static posts as much anymore. In fact, only 10% of your following actually sees your content. So they are prioritizing video. Instagram always, by the way, shares this information. It's nothing secretive, but right now it's all about video and Reels to be seen for those
So
views.
if you post a stunning photo and you're like, why is it not getting likes? It's just because Instagram's not encouraging photos. So that's why you'll see videos of people going, they're talking over it. Instagram's making me do this reel, but it's still a photo and I'm talking over it. That's why they do it.
Or you move it just a little tiny bit.
Yeah, what we love to do, anytime we're promoting an event or whatnot, it doesn't get a lot of eyeballs anymore, right? So what we like to do is upload the photo to Canva or whatever creative studio you use and just animate it. Put a little animation on top, and all of a sudden Instagram recognizes it as a video. It's not a video, but it's perceived as one, and now you're getting kind of breaking through that algorithm again and getting
Could be your logo,
those.
could just be a brand thing swirling around in the corner.
Yep. Facebook, don't sleep on it. It's really great from a geographical perspective. It almost acts like its own Google. So don't sleep on it, cross-promote there. If that is your primary platform, of course, build it up. If it's somewhere you want to grow your audience, you will have to pay to play a little bit. And there's, they have their whole ad buy program that's really solid. But if you're gonna invest in it, you're gonna have to invest in it a little bit.
And if you're using your private page, you can only have 5,000, I think it's 5,000 or friends on Facebook, and then you have to go to a public page. So like when I want to friend someone on my personal, I have to dump someone to add someone. I'll be like,
That's just because you're really popular. I don't have that problem.
But
be like me.
If you're building it up, and I don't say it to sound gross, but like if you're building it up, at some point you'll reach your top of it, and then you've got to do the profile one and the business one separate.
So one area that we leverage all the time on Facebook, our business pages, it's just on automatic, set it and forget it kind of thing. But we do leverage our Facebook groups, and that is also a great place for designers to get involved, whether it's peer-to-peer, talking with brands, talking with your industry, get involved in those Facebook groups. So I know NKBA definitely has a lot of Facebook group action going on. We ourselves have Design Hounds. We also have the Kitchen and Bath Industry Group, kind of a great place to be a think tank, get to know other brands, and so that's a great way to have presence on Facebook. Also leverage live on Facebook. Facebook Live is a great way to connect. I know I have seen you on lots of lives.
I love lives.
And I love it.
Right? That makes
Yeah.
You know
sense.
why I love live is because you never know what's going to happen and it can go wrong. Like one time my internet stopped and I was doing something with Chef John from Monogram and it was like I was sweating horribly. But I find that entertaining as well. And I find people will love it because who doesn't like to watch a car crash happen? So I think it's great.
For sure, for sure. And Facebook Live is, again, it's all about video, you know, and it's one of those things that we might love it or hate it, but that's kind of where things are moving. So Facebook loves when you go live as well.
How many of you are going to KBiz? Some? Okay, good. Yay.
Come on,
So, like,
everybody.
I love doing lives.
You're all in KBA. Get to
well, I like
KBiz.
doing lives from KBiz because then my people know I'm trying to show what's cool and next and what I think is exciting and doing that. Or today, have you documented anything today showing that your brain is growing or whatever? So making sure that you're taking B-roll today of just kind of education and stuff.
And that's good stuff to attract clients too. It really is. Because if you're talking about new products and innovative stuff, you're like your own little TV show. So Facebook Live, it is indeed easy. If people don't like it, they're just going to keep going. And nobody's going to go, oh my God, look at how blurry. Or she lost signal or something. Nobody will care. So you can kind of just stand at a trade show here in New York too. By the way, we again as Design Hounds, if you hashtag us at hashtag Design Hounds, it's where we see what you're doing. So we love to know if you're out here in New York, you know, we want to know if you guys are going to a showroom opening, if you guys are going to some trade show, share what you're doing and let us know about it because that's a great way for us to connect with you and say, oh my God, if you're there, mind taking over our Instagram because we're not there. We do that all the time. We just had one of our Design Hounds travel all over Europe, doing Versailles and a bunch of granite yards, and it was just a really great experience. Then we had Ariane Belazaire, who called us up and said, hey, I'm going to HD Expo, I've never been, I do residential design, but now I wanted to see this. Can I produce some content for you guys? So she took over our Instagram, we did an interview, and it's a paid gig, so we don't ask that for free. And it's wonderful for us to see the world of design through your eyes as experts. And there's a big audience out there that is wanting to have that content. And I want to say one thing because I know it's behind me, so I wanted to ask you guys, who here is most active on Instagram? Okay. Who here is most active on Facebook?
You rude people.
Wowza. Who here is most active on LinkedIn? Not so bad. Not so bad because your clients are on LinkedIn. I hate to tell you. If you're going to have to prioritize, and I know you'll speak to that in a minute, but your clients, if you're looking for a certain caliber, if you're looking for a certain budget project that's in the upper reaches of, you know, especially in this market here, but really throughout the country, that client, that C-suite person of a, you know, in the Fortune 500, Fortune 100s, they're not scrolling Instagram all night. They're probably also not scrolling TikTok. If they are, they're not looking for interior design. But they are on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is by far the best and biggest lead generator for interior and kitchen and bath designers. So absolutely do not ignore. Post there, post long form, tell a story, talk about projects. It attracts the media. It shows brands that you're a thing and that you're out there. So LinkedIn, as not fussy and or you know, fuzzy and bubbly as it is, really, really serves a business purpose.
We'll do the next slide, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to validate that because you're absolutely right about that. Like my stuff that goes on Instagram is one thing, but all the things that I put up on LinkedIn, because my posts, my blog posts feature my work, you're really reaching an audience in a different way. So I just want to give you a little shout out validation on that. You're absolutely right about that.
I'm going to go post on LinkedIn today.
Yeah, get out there. Get out there.
You can actually go live on LinkedIn as well. So don't be afraid to go over there and say hello.
Use that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I do work with nonprofits, because all the board members. I mean, it's not also because I'm a good human, but there are board members.
All the
that
board
are
members,
potential clients that I've landed through that. But yes, that was a horrible statement. Now I have it on camera forever.
Yeah, we got you. Edit, edit, edit.
Do you want any questions from anyone? I know we covered a lot, and I found it fascinating that only one said Facebook. Is there anything that anyone wants to share that's successful for them? Because it's a collaboration, and if you're doing something awesome and you want the group to know, I think that's what NKBA groups are all about. So is there anything anyone wants to share, or anything you want to ask us? It only takes one person to start. Thank you, Alberto.
Something that I learned that I think is super interesting is not how do you want to be perceived and what do you want to communicate as your brand, but it's what people think that your brand is. Because sometimes there's no point on fighting how they're perceiving you, but working around that. If you think you are economical, but people think you're expensive, there's no way that you waste your time saying all the time that you are not expensive. So you need to find a way around it, but I think understanding how you're perceived is super important.
Good point. And it's lovely with an accent as well.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that if you guys don't go to CEDIA, keep that in mind. That's something that I feel like our industry is slowly kind of gaining onto. What was your thing?
I'm actually from the CEDIA.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't even.
Yes,
I
it
didn't
is.
even
Nicely
say that
done.
to suck up to you. Oh yes.
So good segue, but we're seeing a convergence between architectural design, interior design, and technology design to improve the human condition in spaces. So we want to work more together with designers and architects, but where is a good platform to kind of be more collaborative?
What are you guys looking at me for?
I know we all went. Veronica?
Well, it's number one, CEDIA Expo as a show is probably a very good place to go as a designer to get that other half of understanding. I know, Tony, you're kind of a veteran of the programs there. There's a lot of stuff happening online. One of it is our own show, Design Uncut. We try to, in much of our programming, straddle the two worlds. And it's funny to me, it's not funny because earlier we started this conversation by saying, well, we're creative and home technology doesn't feel creative, but it is so crucial for designers to understand home technology, and shouldn't be a conversation that leaves people feeling like they had something shoved down their throat, but rather that we're forced to understand technology when they just care about textiles and pretty finishes and nice design elements. But having the conversations, we're wrapping, yes. Having the conversations.
Stay and answer questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And we just have to take the mics away from
Oh
them.
my
Yes.
goodness, the man is stopping us cold turkey.
They gotta move
Done.
them.
CJ, I was hoping we'd get music.
Want photo opportunities? So
Yay.
you guys stay as long as you like. I just have to move this AV equipment.
No,
to the next-
perfect. And my last thing to tell you is Jamie Derringer is starting a platform. It's like the Oscars. I'm saying it really quick. It's about NFTs and Web3. And it's going to be getting our world into the virtual world. So keep an eye out for it. It's cool, it's different, and it's what's next.
Yeah, Tonic is awesome.
Yeah.
We want photo ops, everybody.
Yay!